93
Firebird Trans Am
LT1.
up under the hood. Me and my brother got a running good. Wake up behind them old Ray-Bans. Catch me if you can.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Horsepower Tube. I'm back on my 93 Trans Am today. Swapping to a like a LS style 411 PCM. So I got my newer 96, 97 LT1 timing cover. It's got the hole for the crank sensor, and I have the reluctor that goes underneath of this. So I got the key I needed. This one's out of a 350 Vortec motor. If you're running a LT1 hub, you're going to need a 96 or 7 key. But I'm running the your small block Chevy balancer. It has the keyway in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and run the old small block Chevy key, and should work out good. So go ahead and put a box back that the wind's blowing around, and we'll go ahead and put this key in here. This is actually the same as the front one if you're using a small block Chevy balancer. Alright, I went ahead and knocked this in with the brass punch. Looks like it's in there all the way. So we would go ahead and get this crank gear put on. This is a Cloy's timing set. It's pretty nice single roller timing set. You can use it on your hydraulic roller motors, and if you delete the mechanical water pump on your LT1, you can also run it. This is a Cloy's number 91157. So we'll go ahead and get this slid on here. It's got 3 different keys in it. You got a square one, that's if you want to retard your cam, and this one has like a triangle shape on top, that's for advancing your cam. And then the one with like a rounded top, that's like the straight up factory setting, and that's what we're going to be running. So we'll go ahead and get this put on. It's a little tight. We'll try to tap it on with the hammer lightly. Doesn't really seem like it's going very far. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull it on. I got a harmonic balancer installer. So I take this little threaded adapter here. You thread that in, make sure you get it all the way. You want, you know, as many threads as you can in there. And then this threads onto that. It's just part of the tool. I got a couple of old bearing races I'm going to slide over to kind of like space it out so that it makes it back to the gear. So then the tool has this little bearing here, and then a washer, and then this big nut. And then as you run this nut in, it will press that gear all the way on. Alright, so you tighten this up and it'll install the gear all the way on the crank. It's going on pretty easy. Alright, it's on there all the way. Go ahead and take my tool back off. I get this adapter back out of the crank here. Still got a lot of threads on it, but that's a good thing. Alright, so you can see this key sticking out all the way. Your LT1 key won't stick out that far because there's not a hole for it in the hub. So make sure you got the right key. But now that's on, we can go ahead and get this cam gear put on the cam. So that just slides on. I already had it on top dead center when I took the old chain off. You gotta make sure your marks line up. There's this whole little circle on the bottom of this gear, and there's one on the top of the other gear, and they're gonna end up right next to each other when everything's lined up right. And this looks pretty good, so go ahead and finish bolting this gear on. I got the bolts here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of Loctite on there. I'm gonna use some blue Loctite. It's like a medium strength, and it's a good idea to put on there. Go ahead and tighten all these up, or start them first. All right, they're all started now. I go ahead and snug them all down. Alrighty, we got the it's all installed. Now that we put the crank reluctor on, that's what your crank sensor is going to be reading to get your crank position. And go ahead and get some of this old gasket off here. Okay, so this is my my old timing tab I was using. I had like a small block Chevy style cover. The bolt holes are pretty much the same as your LT1, except for it's got 3 extra on top. And I trimmed the sides a little bit too. It's LT1's a little narrower there, but the bolt holes all on the bottom are in the same spot, so I can reuse this on this cover, except for it's too thick and it'll stick out too far. If you look at where this sits on here, it's real thin. The LT1 cover is a lot thicker, so I'm gonna have to trim this down on my bandsaw so that it fits on there good. So I just finished trimming her. She looks pretty good, and I think she'll fit on here pretty nice, which she does. So that would look pretty nice, and I can have the right timing to time my distributor and that. So now I'll go ahead and put this timing cover on. You can use a paper gasket if you want. I'm just going to use this RTV I have. Go ahead and get that put on there pretty good. Alright, so there's 2 pins on here you can line up, and it'll slide right on in the right spot. I just got some bolts from the hardware store. 2 of these on the left side are going to be longer because that's where the OptiSpark used to go. So those are these 2 right here, and then the rest are all shorter. And then I got these 2 longer ones that are part of my timing tab. Let's go ahead and put them on and snug them down. Alright, so now I got all the bolts tightened on top. Now I'm going to put on my oil pan. You want to make sure you put some RTV in the corners of this to keep it from leaking. Got that in there. Now I go ahead and put my oil pan back up. I like to start the 2 half-inch head bolts on the front, and then get those tightened up. And then after that, I'll go back and do the back 2 also, and then there's a bunch of 3/8 head bolts in the middle. Tighten all those up and get your oil pan all snug back on. Okay, so now we have our spot here for the crank sensor to read that reluctor wheel that we have inside there, and it should be good for the new computer. I'm going to be using my tool again, so I got to thread in this adapter, slide my balancer on, you can see our marks line up from where we got it from the timing gears. And go ahead and thread the rest of the tool on here. crank this nut down till it bottoms out and our balancer is fully installed, which it is now. Go ahead and take the tool back off. Now if you want to run this small block Chevy balancer, you can with your stock accessories, as long as you're not using an OptiSpark. There's not room behind the balancer for an OptiSpark. But if you want to use that, you got to have this March pulley. It's part number 6211, and that will go on here, and it will line up with your factory belts and pulleys. You can see mine are sticking out a little bit further. I actually spaced out my accessories. I got these small block Chevy valve covers. The LT1s have a little cutout, and they kind of sit under the alternator. Every time you pull your valve cover off, you got to take your alternator off. So I just went ahead and I got this the C4 Corvette balance or pulley, and it sticks out a little further. And I spaced out all my accessories, and now I can get my valve cover off without messing with the alternator or anything. So I'm going to be running this this C4 pulley because I'm spaced out. But that March one works good with your stock location. So let's go ahead and thread the bolts in for that. There's 3 bolts to hold your pulley on. Go ahead and snug them down. Once you have them installed, you can get your big center bolt that goes in the middle and thread that in there. Go ahead and tighten that up. There we go. So the timing cover is fully installed. I'm gonna go ahead and do this water pump now. I got gasket material on the water pump. I took my electric motor off. It's a pretty tight fit, and I'll just put that back on later. But for now, slide this on. Those pins that held your timing cover on, you slide your water pump on them same pins, and it lines everything up real nice. And then I got 3 bolts on each side. Go ahead and put those in, and then we'll get this all tightened up. Alright guys, I got the water pump all tightened up. Unfortunately, we are running out of daylight, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up now, and we'll save the rest of it for another day. But yeah, we got everything. The motor is pretty much 96, 97 style. We got the rear distributor, we got the small block Chevy balancer on there, and my next video will probably be making the wiring harness for it. I got a 97 wiring harness, and basically all you do is take off the computer connectors and move the wires around on a new connector for the new computer. It's not that hard. Everybody's afraid of wiring, and they spend $500 on a wiring harness, but it's really not that difficult, and I'll show you guys how to do it in the next video. Thanks for watching this one, and I'll catch you guys next time.